Welcome to episode 2 of the Guided by Purpose podcast with me, Christopher Farnath, and with Jamie Robinson. This podcast is for people who are looking for inspiration. And today, our focus is going to be one of a series that look at the characteristics that help people find their direction. And so today's focus is around preparedness. So, Jamie, preparation, really important. I was saying to you earlier, with regards to preparation, you as a national athlete, ex-national athlete, have a lot on how you prepare. So I was wondering if you'd like to share what you do in a routine and why it's important to you.
Preparation is, I have two ways that I prepare in general. One is hyper detailed, hyper focused on, every element of what is it that I'm going to need to be doing probably the day before, what time I'm getting up, how long it's going to take me to eat my breakfast, what's going to be in it, to what I'm going to be wearing, like really hyper detailed. And then obviously as my day goes on, checking my calendar, what I've got in there. Like today, for example, I'm doing 1,000,001 things, but I'm able to do it because I planned that out last night, So that's the one way I prepare. Obviously, I'm going to go into more detail on that. And then the second way I prepare is very risky, I would say. Very risky. I have a rough idea in my mind of how I would like things to go, and I kind of plan it out in my head without sort of writing it down or anything like that.
So is that manifestation or is that something else?
Yeah, it's more allowing the universe or allowing the day to take its course in a way, which can be risky and can be very dangerous. But there are periods of time where I believe, for me, that have to be creative, and you have to let ideas come to you and flow through you rather than being prescribed, because when you're prescribed, your views can be very tailored to that one thing, because what's the saying, is 1,000,001 ways to skin a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're hyper detailed, which I am sometimes, you're so focused in on that thing, every other possibility is eradicated from your mind. So we can go into detail if you want, but there's two ways: the hyper detailed and hyper focused, and the loose approach where I have a rough idea of the direction. I have my direction, but I could get there.
So is this a continuum, or is this something that is more of a, you deliberately go out, today I'm going to be hyper focused, or are you sort of flexible and fluid with that?
Very flexible, very flexible. Like I can even change my approach halfway through the day.
Right.
Which a lot of people can get frustrated with, especially in relationships that I've been in, I think, because I could be like, right, boom, and then I can reassess. So I'm constantly self-analysing, constantly self-evaluating.
So it's a dynamic state for you. So you are preparing, but you're taking into consideration all the extraneous factors that are affecting you and hitting you.
Yeah,
is that what
I understand both ends of the spectrum,
okay,
and I can do both ends of the spectrum.
Okay,
and whatever's happening depends on.
Where have you had most success? Because to me, what you've just said is you react a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And is that what you do? Because in preparedness, it surely is flipping it around and making you capable of being very clear on your outcome, what you want to achieve. Is that what you're...
Yeah, so it really depends upon the goal and where you're going and the focus. So in periods when I was growing my career in recruitment, I was solely focused on becoming a top biller. Solely focused on becoming the biggest biller, making as much placements as possible. So every night and shout out to my old director who helped me do this, John O'Neill. So every night I'd have a diary that I'd write in my diary, and it'd be super detailed in terms of the first thing is activity. That is CVs and candidates that we've sent that we're looking for feedback, because we know that directly then goes into your pipeline that could land new business. And then there was other sections, but the one that was closest to the end goal was always the top one, and that was activity. And I did that religiously for 4 or 5 months. Every single night did my diary. The day before, when my day had finished, the next day it would be, I would already know what I'm doing.
So was it reflection? Was it a journal? Was it actions to happen?
Actions.
The next day's
follow-ups.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was really successful during that period of time.
Okay.
It works.
Absolutely.
But that was the hyper detailed approach, and I was in that mindset at that time. I wasn't in a creative mindset. I was employed. That was my job. That's what I needed to do. Whereas now, as a director and owner of a business, there's a lot of other things that come in. So, some days I'm going to be hyper detailed on that, but other days I've got this coming here, that coming there, that coming in there. So that's why I then had to adopt the other approach on some days, and sometimes I meet in the middle.
Okay. So let me just summarise what I think I've just heard there. You have real clarity around your overall goal. In your background, you've shown that journaling and the discipline of writing down what you've done through the day and the actions and follow-ups for the next day actually made a difference in your outcomes.
Yes.
Okay. And then you change from working for somebody else into running your own business. Is there a change? Do you not still go through that discipline of saying what it is?
I have, yeah. But the creative element needed to come in initially. So, because it was a new business and new ideas, the world is your oyster, and then you slowly shrink it down.
Okay.
And then boom. And that was like when I was in sports, when I did athletics. That was another one where it was, what you got to eat, what you got to do in training, how hard you got, and that was honed in. So I feel like when your vision is clear, in terms of when you've got several goals that that you're going for, the detailed preparation, when you're a bit not so sure on your goal, then it widens a little bit.
Okay. So your vision, this is really interesting, because how far out do you set that vision?
5 years.
5. Okay. So what is it that if you describe to me your vision of what you are doing in 5 years' time, describe it to me.
Mm-hmm. In 5 years' time, it's really funny actually, because I used to be to the T get it right. Every 5 years, I knew what I had to do, and it happened.
So you reverse engineered your life to achieve it?
Yeah, it happens. So when I started my own business, I found it really difficult to do that. But now I'm becoming more focused. I've got my brands. I know sort of where I'm going. I can do it now.
Okay.
So where I see myself in 5 years' time is someone that's still running Robinson Guest, still running Flink, doing social media like what we're doing now.
Yes.
But being able to travel the world and meet different people,
okay,
whilst doing all of that at the same time, simultaneously, okay, and my networking events.
And where are you living?
Where am I living?
Yes, and what do you drive?
What do I drive? I would like, I don't know where I'm going to be living. I see it being in multiple places. I don't see myself staying somewhere.
So nomadic.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I don't see myself based anywhere. I feel like I'd be here in the UK. I feel I'd be in the Middle East, in Dubai, in Saudi. I feel like I'd be in Europe, France, Germany, in the US, Canada. Literally, all I can see myself being all over the world and spending 2 months here, 2 months there, etc. But there will be certain places that, oh, that's nice, I might stay there.
So what would you do? What are you looking for? Because this is really important to me for being able to understand how you can get to that. Because there's a lot of wishes there. I'd love to be there. I'd love to be there. And I'll get there and I'll spend a couple of weeks there or whatever. That's obviously having the financial capability to be able to do that. But have you got a particular thought? Yeah. What do you want to do in that country? What do you want to do when you get there? What is it? What is the purpose of you in 5 years' time?
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Sorry to push you.
No. I've got the answer for it. It's a great question, and me and Nico talk about this a lot. We don't see work as work. It's our lifestyle.
Okay.
So through my work of recruitment, international recruitment, that allows, I've already got a network of people in all different countries. So that allows me to go there and do what I want to do personally, but I'm also working at the same time. Yeah. So through recruitment, it allows me to live that lifestyle. So it doesn't become a job. It doesn't become a business. It becomes just what I do. You know, I go to different places. I help businesses find the right talent.
Yes.
Help consult them. And it could be here, there and everywhere.
That's brilliant. And that's sort of brought to some sort of vision for me of what you're trying to achieve, because that was not totally clear to me at the beginning of that conversation. But now I can see, by doing what you really are motivated to do, which is to help connect people and to give them career, set them up and ensure that they're in the right roles internationally, you're getting the opportunity to visit and be part of those countries to experience those cultures. That's really good.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's all about giving. It's all about giving. Like, I don't,
that's your value.
Yeah, a lot of recruitment companies are hitting targets and KPIs and numbers and call stats and all that. I understand why they do it. There's got bills to pay, etc., and they need to hit the numbers. But for me, I want to be adding serious value to organisations by finding them the right people. And it's more than just finding someone who's got a background in sales if they're looking for a sales account exec. It's their purpose. Their purpose. What is the purpose of this business, of this role? And what is this purpose of this individual? Like you're questioning me now, that's where I add value. I really understand people's visions and where they want to go and align that with companies, as well as the skills, experience to do the job. And that's where I can add, that's where I believe I add value. It's not just a recruiter finding, stealing someone from your competitor. It's a recruiter who deeply understands where we're going in life. And forget the business. Where are you going in life? What is it that you want to do in life?
How do you think the recruitment industry is perceived?
I'd say the recruitment industry is perceived a little bit like the insurance industry is perceived. Like it's there, it's needed, and people have had good and bad experiences with it, and people don't like paying the money for it either, but they know it's there. It's one of those industries that it's like a professional. It's almost like they badge themselves up as professional services, but are they really that? It's perceived poorly, I would say.
Okay. And the reason I say that is it's important to differentiate, and this is one of the reasons why that book was written, because obviously Champion Hires, ironically, it takes the control away from the recruitment consultant and puts it in the hands of the recruiting manager, because you're looking for ways to find that elusive champion. That's the whole purpose of that book. And the other part, which I think is really important to bring out, is for me, and again back to being prepared for this. It's about thinking through how you utilize the data that you've got and the people that you connect with to reflect on you as an individual and as a leader. I think that's really important to sort of build that capability. And so thinking back to what you were saying with regards to what your purpose is and what you're trying to do in the next 5 years, it's very much crafted around connections and identifying and working with others to help them. And I think that's a really noble cause, isn't it?
And I think this is going to switch over to yourself now. Obviously, we're at different ends of our careers. You've been super successful. You've been all over the world. Something that I want to do. So, this podcast, guided by purpose, is to help people first and foremost. And as you mentioned, one of the characteristics to be successful is preparation, and we're going to discuss the other 11 topics in the next podcast. But I think you've added a lot of value to me, and you've got a coaching business, you've written a book about recruitment, you've seen a lot. So from your side and from your standpoint, let's talk about preparation and what preparation means to you, and how you use it day to day and week to week.
So if I start with my vision at 15 years time, because that's going to be some way away. I'm living in a converted barn. I'm probably living on the Pembrokeshire coastline. I'm with my wife. We're celebrating our 45th wedding anniversary, something like that. I'm driving a Porsche, if they still do them.
Electric one, probably.
Probably by then. And I walk the dog along the beach as my daily routine. And that dog is going to be a grey Staffordshire Bull Terrier.
Wow.
So it's very detailed. And this was done through an envisioning process that I spent some time in the beginning of the year, because I really wanted to understand, if I want to do that, how am I going to live? And I was thinking, really important that I've got a way of funding things. So my idea was, in that sentence or paragraph of describing how I'm living, I want to be obviously with an income that's coming from the royalties from my books. And when I started thinking about that, so 15 years time, reverse engineer that, I haven't written a book. So it was very important to then think, right, what do I need to do to write a book? And the idea is that by going through that envisioning process, it is a ritual of thinking about it. And one of the pieces that I did, classic, with AI that's around now, I put all my vision into Ideate. I think it's called Ideate. Press the button and let it produce a visual of it.
What's it called?
Ideate. It's a bit like DAL-E, which is ChatGPT's visual. A bit like, I don't know, what's the other one? Mid-Journey, something like that. AI creating visuals. And let it run. And about 5 minutes later, came back, and the screen had this amazing picture of this beautiful coastline.
You're joking.
The converted barn. The door was slightly open, and in there was a library. I was thinking, crikey, are those all my books? I'll take that. But there's this library, and there's a Porsche 911 in the driveway, a little Staffy sitting up front like that, looking at me, right? And that was the image. So I literally captured that image, put it on my background as my wallpaper on my computer, and now every morning I see that. And that is a good piece of inspiration if you are clear on your vision, if you see it, if you believe it, if you take it forward every day and you see it, you start to make things happen to get you in line to achieve that as an outcome. So that's 15 years down the track.
And you know, you hear a lot of successful sports stars, I mean, literally pretty much verbatim how you said it, you know, McGregor, Mayweather, they all talk about if you can see it, believe it.
And speak it.
Speak it.
Yeah.
That's, you know, you're onto something. So the fact that you've started, you know, when I asked you
100%
your preparation, the fact that you've started with that, it's hyper personal.
Very.
Hyper personal. And maybe that's something people don't think about when you think of preparation. You know, for preparation, you're thinking of diaries, you're thinking of notes, you're thinking of calendars, you're thinking of that. But, you know, what you're saying is, well,
where do you want
let's
to be?
Start there first.
Well, if you can truly envision it, and then, you know, there's all these wonderful books and theories and films and all sorts of The Secret, classic, the manifestation of what it is. You believe it, you create it, you put out what you get back. And I think that's really interesting because just thinking about it from a practical point of view, I'll tell you one example. I used to be, I think I mentioned this last podcast, but I'll say it again. When I worked at Aspect, I used to get in at about 10 o'clock in the morning because my day started, although the system started at 9 and we went on until 5:30. I worked with the US and they were all West Coast US, so an 8-hour difference. So my day started pretty well at 4 p.m. with the US. So I did my 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and then I started the US day to make sure everything was handed over to them and everything was working, and I was keeping up with all the leaders that were there. And the purpose of telling you this is that when I would arrive in a big car park, open plan office, everybody could see anybody coming into the car park and they'd see me arrive. Now, being the head of the region in the services organisation, I'd walk into the centre, walk through to where my office was, and all the team would see me coming in. And I thought nothing of it for a time. And some days I'd walk in and I wasn't really thinking about stuff, and I'd walk into the office and I'd be worried that things weren't quite working and there was this hubbub going on outside. And one of my managers walked in and said, "Oh, is there something going on, Chris, that we should know about?" And I said, "What are you on about?" And they said, "Well, the look on your face looks like we're going to go through a layoff or something." And I'm thinking, what? So this was the first real revelation that being a leader is how you're presenting all the time. And what that meant to me,
I think we talked. Did we discuss
we did,
this?
didn't we?
Yeah,
and so I literally got out of the car every morning. We'd get out of the car, and I'd put on this smile, and I'd walk in and I'd go, "Hi," like this, and walk into my office, and that would be that, and there'd be the quick Chris is here, boom, we're in, and that would then die off, and people just get on with the jobs. If I didn't look right, it really changed the way that the people behaved. So pushing out what you want to get back is really important. So go in with a smile, get smiles back.
It's interesting, very interesting. So, tying that into the preparation, I've gone into it, like I said, detail, planning, etc. And the two main topics that you've just discussed is vision and energy, basically.
Oh, totally.
So then, how do we whittle that preparation down even further to months, weeks, days?
Yeah, I think it's really important, ending up with some sort of journal. Now, I've been working with an organisation called Rethink, and Rethink have a journal that you can buy, which literally takes you through all these steps that I've talked about. And what that does is it gives you almost like it's a great book, but you can just download the pages of it without being too expensive. And what that does is it makes you go through the routine of documenting the things that you want to achieve. And this is why it's so important to know what you're trying to get to. So it's taking your 15-year vision, reverse engineering it to 10, then to 5, then to 1, and then breaking your year into quarters, then back into months, then back into weeks. And then you have in your week your daily planner. In daily planner, you go through the process, literally, of writing down the most important things that you have to do in order to achieve your month goal, in order to achieve your quarter goal, in order to achieve your year goal. And the year goal stacks up to make your 5-year goal, that stacks up to make your 10 and 15. So it logically flows. And it's a discipline. And one of the things that makes something a habit to do isn't, somebody once said, keep practicing however many hours, that will be, you'll create a habit. But actually, the most interesting revelation for me was a habit is formed only when you do it and it doesn't you don't actually mentally clock it. So like brushing your teeth. You never consider, I'm a good boy, I've brushed my teeth. You just brush your teeth every day. You just do it. It's a habit. So if you're going to change something, write and journal, you just do it. And as soon as it no longer becomes an activity you have to think about and you just do it, that's when it's a proper habit.
Yeah. Something that's just sprung to mind is how do you attribute that to the people that you surround yourself with as well? Because for me, I've been in situations where people haven't got the same goals and the same visions, and on a Friday they want to go for a beer and all that things, which is fine. But for me, if I have that beer, I'm going to be groggy on Saturday and I'm not going to do certain things. And when I started aligning myself with individuals who have the same goal, there was no pressure to do those things, and I was more prepared. So for you, like with the people that you surround yourself with, how much of an impact does that have on your preparation?
It's essential, I think. It's not so much of an issue for me today because my social group is really the people that I engage with through work and through lifestyle. It's become that way. And really the things that I enjoy are talking through concepts with people. How is it going to progress me? I look for people who are doing the things that I want to be doing, and I want to learn from them. Even at my stage of career, you said I've had a long career. I have, but there's always, every day is a learning day. There isn't. I look at what you do, and there's a lot of admiration for the things, your discipline in your athletic program and the sort of things that you do daily. You can tell the difference in looking at us that we're not in the same ballpark yet. I yearn for that discipline of doing that, and so I benefit from listening to you talk about those things. And again, for me, it's about identifying the people that can help you on your journey. I heard a great phrase, I can't remember whether I saw it on a video clip or a meme that came through, and it said, people that come into your life, you're either there to help them or they're there to help you. And I thought, well, that's a really interesting. You might meet people who aren't there to help you at all, obviously, that's the other conclusion. But people who come into your life are either there for you to help or for them to help you. And I think that's a really sort of quite deep and philosophical way.
Help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that can. If it's symbiotic, it's even better. Yeah. This is a symbiotic effort. Because the whole, how did we really come together on this? I've written a book about recruitment. You're in recruitment. We were at the same school. We did the same sporting events when we were at the school. There's a lot of things that overlap, and when you look at those and say, right, what is it we can do for each other? There's absolutely no way I'd be sitting in this room today if it wasn't for you.
Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah, vice versa.
So it's without doubt, it's sort of given me some thought, and I recognise that there are key moments that you've just got to take, And I think as far as I'm going, my vision, all that I talked about a moment ago, is there's two ways of thinking this. My favourite quote is, be stubborn about your goals, but be flexible about your methodology. And that sort of goes right back to your continuum about your deep dive focus and your flexibility to deal with the day as it's thrown at you. And the second favourite quote, which is, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Mike Tyson. Which of course is classic. You know, you start out to do something and then life just derails you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that can be an Achilles going. It can be COVID. It can be the bank you're with debanks you. It can be, you know, the law changes on something. You know, anything can hit you, but how you respond to it is down to how prepared you are in the circumstances that you've got and the attitude you have, because you're the only one who can control how you react to something. Doesn't matter, you know, things come at you. It's the old Rudyard Kipling, if you're calm while others around you are losing their head. You know, great wisdom from these sort of places. And, you know, if you aspire to be like that, it's quite a good outcome if you can achieve it.
Yeah, and God, there's so much to talk about. I think it all comes down to self-awareness.
Totally.
You know, I use the word, you know, consciousness a lot, and that's something that if you're conscious 24/7, all the topics that we're going to discuss will all align to just knowing. You know, you're going to talk about smiling, giving out. You're going to talk about preparation and all the other topics, and it's all about just being self-aware. And sometimes, you know, a lot of people that might watch this already know a lot of the stuff, you know, what we're talking about, and a lot of people already do know this, but then it comes down to, are you reminding yourself of that? And then if you hang around with the right people, they help you with that. Are you self-motivated to remind yourself? And there's just so many little things that play a part in that self-awareness. And, you know, that's the purpose of why we're doing this.
Totally.
You know, even if it's just to remind somebody, you know, who already knows the things that we're talking about, if they watch this and go, oh yeah, I know that, I just need to remember it, then that's great.
It is. And I think, actually, on that note, given the timing, we're probably about right. So,
yeah, I think so.
Thanks again to Studio Bank. That's the end of episode 2. Tune in for the next thrilling episode, episode 3.
Hopefully we can do it on the rooftop. Theo,
looking forward to
who
it.
runs Studio Bank, said he's got a rooftop setting, so we might jump on that.
Yeah, fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you, Jamie.
Yes, Chris, appreciate it. Thank you very much.